So I've made two giant mistakes.
What's the bullshit? Tell us what the bullshit is. Like, that's what we want to know.
Okay, well, the bullshit is when I finished writing the book, I actually didn't have a name for the book. And
The thing is, you can get people a really nice outcome with filler. And you can even do a little focal, nice abdominal, and even maybe knee lipo.
I was in a very toxic marriage for 27 years. And the relationship started out toxic with my ex. And
Ben, who are we? Where are we?
The more you pod we're making, and I think we have the perfect guest. The more you, more us, more everybody, more everything. So optimization, I think, is a good way to say it.
Yeah, we're all about the more you and people getting more of themselves. We are super pumped. We have Sandra Lena Silverman on with us this evening. God, what am I going to tell you about Sandra? She's an author. She's influencing. She's a podcast. There's a lot of things to talk about tonight.
thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
You're
lifting up. I mean, I can't remember what it was, but my wife is right about, I think, your age group. She's had that the stress of the kind of mom, entrepreneur, life, worker, all of that all at once. And it's just like, it's one of those things that Dom and I think we understand, but having somebody on, I think, who can speak to it is powerful.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Well, we're excited. I'm going to get to the really good stuff here right away. And I think it's going to be good stuff for the entire episode. Your book is called Bullshit to Botox. By the way, awesome name.
Very good name.
What's the bullshit? Tell us what the bullshit is. Like, that's what we want to know.
Okay, well, the bullshit is just basically everything. So when the book was when I finished writing the book, I actually didn't have a name for the book. And, we had all this content and just this whole journey of external work, internal work. And I didn't have a title. So I had no idea what to call it. And a friend of mine was awake one night at like 3 a.m. and came up with 13 titles and subtitles. The next day I woke up.
Probably before AI also.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it was a few years ago. Yeah. So she sends this to me. I wake up the next morning to all of these titles and subtitles. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is like Christmas morning. Like, how did you do this? And she just said, I had a burst of energy at 3 a.m. and I couldn't sleep. So one of the titles was From Bullshit to Botox. And I'm like, this is perfect because there's so much that went like along with this book in terms of like the treatments and the procedures and so much bullshit that, it's like a lot of nonsense. It's a lot of nonsense at the end of the day, but also very informative information. So I thought this is like a perfect title because it's like funny and, not so serious.
Yeah, it is. And I think people would really benefit, I think, just a little bit. And you probably told it a million times. So if you don't mind, just maybe a little bit of your journey on how you got there.
The first procedure was when I was 27, and it just kind of went from there. I was in a very toxic marriage for 27 years, and the relationship started out toxic with my ex. And he had made some comments along the way about like, oh, your body's soft, you should go to the gym. And as a younger person, I thought, okay, I guess I need to go to the gym. Like, I wasn't like subconsciously, or consciously thinking about that there was something wrong with this, but subconsciously I feel like there was. So I started doing procedures and surgeries and just never felt great about myself. And then I had my son and did more procedures and, different surgeries, and went through this whole journey of like, nothing was good enough. Externally, I just wanted to do this and this was going to make me feel better, and nothing made me feel better. So the second part of the book is all about the internal journey and removing the toxic out of my life. I'm really starting to love myself. So it should have been reversed, and it wasn't. So that was pretty much the journey. Like, I did all these external procedures, but at the end of the day, it didn't make me happier.
I'm going to chime in. I think the hard part of what you're saying, I think you're so much wiser now that, you of course you feel as though you should have maybe recognized that and loved yourself first before you did that. But when you're 20 or whatever, 25, the shit I did when I was 25, I think God, there's not a camera. There wasn't a cell phone camera when I was 25. I would be, in trouble. So, I think, yeah, I think you're being kind of hard on yourself looking at it that way, but I can only imagine. So,
But it's good. It's good now. Everything is, it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Well, I think, I think that it's almost like anything in life. You think if you get this job, your life's going to be better. If you think you get this house, your life's going to be better. If you're going to get this certain relationship, your life is going to be better. And I think where you've touched on is what a lot of people can do is that, they can, from a self betterment perspective, I don't want to say self help, but more in their eyes or feelings of self betterment. I want to keep getting there. I want to keep getting there. And it's like, well, there are some things you're going to have to deal with internally at some point or another to really reach the goal that you're perceiving, right? Is that the basic thought?
You'll go down such a rabbit hole if you're not doing these things for yourself and for the right reasons. You're going to go down a rabbit hole, and at the end of the day, you're still not going to find the happiness that you're looking for. It may be just like a quick fix, like, oh, I just got a facelift, so my face looks good, like a quick fix, but internally, you will struggle.
and if you can, and I'm not aging you or any of us, but if you can imagine these poor kids these days, right, with social media, I mean, while you had all of your pressures, like it's just so much worse right now. I'm actually working, I've been working on this book forever, similar to that, just like the manipulation of these algorithms and these poor kids. And honestly, even the surgeons, I think I'm a facial plastic surgeon. So even the surgeons are getting manipulated by this system, and it's like this clouded thing. And people, so it's just a dang mess. And it's not getting better, right? I mean,
No,
that's the point. That's the sad part of it, really.
no, it's getting worse because girls will go into the surgeon's office and show them like an AI.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna send you my book, Sandra. You're gonna. It's. I might change the title now to motherfucker or plastic surgery. Okay, if that's okay. Yeah, but I'll give you a shout out. So I'll send it to you because it's so. This. It's just I see it every day, and it's. I think to me it comes down to a communication problem. And there's obviously incentives for everybody involved. And then when the incentives aren't aligned and there's not good communication, people get hurt, and physically, mentally, in every other way. And it's just, I really hate to see it.
No, it's really sad. It
Yeah.
was really sad.
Um, I think what's interesting about you, which which I kind of love, is that you're not actually, it doesn't seem, I could have this wrong. It's not like you're anti-procedure, because a lot of people will get on one side or the other. And it seems like you've somehow found this white space that I think most people are probably in, but you're just actually were the one who identified it of, hey, there's all these procedures. I'm not telling you that they're all bad or don't work, but I think there's more to it. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's really interesting.
I agree with what you're saying. So there's so many procedures and I've done a lot of them. I don't think that they're bad at all. I think it's only bad if you're doing them for the wrong reasons. If you're doing them because you don't love yourself, you're doing them to make somebody else happy, then they're not good. But if you're doing them for yourself and you still look natural at the end of the day, then have as many as you want. I don't see anything wrong with it.
And I'll chime in as the surgeon. As the surgeon, same thing. Like the surgeon also can't be doing it for the wrong reasons. They have to, be. The patients don't have as much insight into the operations as we do. Of course, the number of times I see somebody go and say, "Oh, I asked the doctor to do this and he did this, but it didn't fix my problem and it made me look weird." And the doctor just says, "Well, I did what you said, but I mean, you're the doctor, man. You still got to do the analysis, do the you got to give your advice. You got to say this is going to do this. This is going to age like this. This is going to an implication in 20 years you're going to have to redo your breast implants or whatever." But it really comes down to incentives and communication. And I hate it when it goes poorly because it's bad for everybody. It's bad for the
definitely bad
patients,
for
it's bad for the
everybody.
surgeons, it's bad for the industry, it's bad, it's just like, I just hate it. So
Well, it's great when the surgeon is honest with the
it really
patient.
comes down to that. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're honest and, somebody that's had 3 rhinoplasties and there's
Yeah.
no cartilage left or
Yeah.
whatever, and they don't want to touch them. I mean, I think that's a great surgeon because they're being honest
Yeah.
and telling the truth. But so many people, want to get paid. They have to keep their lights on or whatever. And that's when it becomes tricky. But in the book, I really emphasized and wanted to show people like the best types of doctors to work with
Mhm.
in terms of making sure they're a specialist
Yeah.
for whatever they want to do and that they have, really good reviews and you really do your research because you don't want to go to somebody. I mean, for me personally, like if I'm getting a facelift, I want to go to somebody that just does facelifts. I don't want
Exactly.
that person to be like, does everything because then they're not doing so many of that procedure per
It's,
year.
you're speaking, you're so, yeah, 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 yeah. You're like so speaking my language. I mean, I'm like super obsessed with super subspecialization. I mean, all I do is this, and I don't do blephs, rhinos, I don't do anything else. That's all I do every day. And I try to explain to people like I am the best. There's no questions asked. But the reason I'm the best is because I've done thousands of these. And the guy who's doing butts and boobs and
Right.
eyelids, he's doing, 20, 30, 40 a year. I'm doing 400.
Yes.
It's like I can teach a monkey to do it as good as me if they sat with me and did 10,000. It's just the reality of it. And our ability to cut and sew is much closer than people think. It's all about the repetition, knowing, tweaking, learning the patients. Like the jawline can be feminized, masculinized, pointy, square, round. I mean, the depths I think about it, people think I'm crazy. But the interesting thing from a surgeon perspective, which is going to be weird, I think, for the non-surgeons of the world, the more you do of one case, the more complicated it becomes. And most people think like, don't you get bored of doing that? And it's no, like, man, oh God, and you tweak it a little bit, you think about it differently. You're like, oh, that woman she was thick skin, this woman's thin skin, and then that guy had a broad mandible, she had a mini. So you can really get obsessive about it in a good way.
Yeah.
We're taking beautiful people like yourself, Sandra,
Thank
and
you.
cutting their faces open. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. I don't even know. I always say I don't even know why anybody would want to do a case that they're not like 100% confident. It would drive me crazy.
I agree with you 100%, but there's so many surgeons
Yeah,
out there that do everything.
yeah,
Like you
it's
said,
crazy.
and you're right. You're doing 400 a year and they're doing 20, 30
Yeah,
because there's
yeah,
not enough time in the day to do the butts and the
yeah.
tummy tucks and the faces. So that's like the number one thing I talk about when I talk about the surgeries in the book is to find somebody that specializes.
You
And
know, I don't. You're probably doing it now, but I'm doing consults with these people that have. So it's the patient, and the patient has a consultant like
oh,
yourself,
no,
I
I'm
think.
not. I do it for free, but I'm not actually
Yeah,
a
so they
consultant.
bring them with them, and it's somebody like you. I don't know how they're informed, whether they went. I mean, I don't know exactly like you, but they have. So the patient's kind of just there, like I want this and this and this, and the person's like, okay, did you ask? What if there's a complication? What does he do then? And I mean, they ask smart questions, questions that you should ask. But I've noticed, like, I don't know if they get like a portion of the. I mean, they must be paying these people, I
They
assume.
do. They're these beauty consultants that they're paying. They're telling them exactly what they want. They're telling them who to go to, for a fee. They'll probably get a percentage of what they spend. That would be my guess.
I want to hear you talk a whole bunch about. Um, you've alluded to it on this, where it sounds like you've had some unscrupulous, like doctors that you've dealt with. Some of the folks that have done stuff. Can you just talk about that? I think we want to just
Sure.
hear that, and I think it'd be helpful for people to hear that.
So I've made two giant mistakes. Number one was with a doctor in New York. His name is Dr. Trokel. It's called the Y lift. And this was before I got my facelift. And my mom talked me out of getting the facelift. So I'm at the gym one day and I see him on Good Morning America doing a procedure with filler using a cannula. And I thought, oh, he lifted the lady's face. This is great. I'm going to go to New York. So the next week I go to New York. I have a consult with him. He does the procedure. He used, I don't know, 20 vials of filler and went deep into the tissue with the cannula. And it was fine. Like it looked good. It lifted, it worked. Fast forward, 2 years later, I repeated it with him. And now he decided he doesn't like that procedure. He wants to pie face me. So instead of sculpting, he turned me into a round pie. It took a year to dissolve all of that filler. Like, it was disastrous, which caused my skin to expand and start sagging even more. So then I followed up with a facelift at, I think it was like 48. But that was a major mistake because of all that filler. It caused more damage to my face and caused the skin to sag. That was a really big error on my part. The second one was I allowed a dermatologist to liposuction my knees and my stomach in her office, and she wasn't even an expert in liposuction. So now I have my stomach, my skin sagging on my stomach and my knees, and now I have to get a tummy tuck, which I never even had to get even after childbirth. So, and now it's like an uphill battle with my knees. I'm constantly having to fill them and, things like that. So I did make those two mistakes. I was able to correct two of them with surgery.
And I'm going to chime in, Dom. I know you'll have good insights into this, but I don't know these physicians you're talking about, but the thing is, you can get people a really nice outcome with filler, and you can even do a little focal, nice abdominal, and even maybe knee lipo, or you can do it very poorly. So that's the unfortunate part of this game. There's such a human component. Maybe one day AI is going to do it all for us and it'll be solved. But currently, you still got to get a schmo like me to do it. So you want the schmo that is doing only that obsesses about it, and it's just, and then if anything I do, if it goes wrong, I can fix it. Like I don't do anything that I can't fix. I want to sleep at night. So it's just, that's the reality for me. Like, Dom's not going to start a company that he can't run and, manage the people and so it's just the reality. And I think it's a kind of almost a twisted person that can do these things and not have the concern or the anxiety of not being, I don't know if it's trained or, ready for it.
There was no concern. It was a disaster. And it's my fault because, like I said, I didn't go to the experts, which I learned. So I had to learn the hard way.
I would say not only I would not put it on you. I think, again, unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder for these people, for these poor. You're wise on it now, so now But the poor people out there that just not poor like money wise, just like poor in the lack of wisdom or experience. They're just making these decisions based on what Kim Kardashian told them they should do. So it's like even this, like, it's just so much more clouded and more difficult now.
Well, that was part of the reason I wanted to write the book, just because I
Yeah.
had experience and I wanted to bring experts in to talk about like the different procedures that they do and what the expectations are.
Yeah.
Because for like a breast lift, for example, like, this is the kind of scarring that you can have, and this is how you can fix the scar, and that sort of thing.
And if you know that you're getting your breast implanted at 20, and when you're 40, you might want a little lift, and it's okay.
Right.
If you're informed on that information and it's
Yeah.
transparent, not a big deal. But if you got your breast implants and you're 40, you're like, what the hell? I got to do another surgery. My breasts are sagging. If
Right.
you don't have that information, you don't make the decision based on that information. You could argue it's negligent from the surgeon perspective, like, to use a medical term. So it's very frustrating. I really hate to see bad care, because it just, it like hurts my soul, but it's bad for everything. It's like,
No, I
it's
agree.
bad for the patient, bad for me, but it's bad for every person. It's like, what the hell? But
I agree.
I'm ranting, Dom, I know.
Yeah, it's
Dom,
okay. It's okay. There's
Yeah.
there's a passionate subject. And I
Yeah.
think Sandra, I think for clarity's sake, like, we're in the business of aesthetics, and we're in the business of excellent aesthetics, and we care so much about that. And you said something I just want to touch on, which I think is so important. Great doctors look at you, and the patient may say, I want X. Great doctors may say, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't believe that that's the right thing to do for you. Even though you want that, you can't do that. And have you been able to find folks that you encounter that have done that with you?
Yes. Recently, there's a doctor in Miami, and I went to him 2 years ago to see if I could get another mini facelift. And he literally looked in my face and he was like, get out of my office. And he's like, look around you. I have to keep the lights on. I have a staff, but I'm not touching your face because you don't need it. And I thought that was amazing.
That's wonderful. And I think that's really important. I'd like to go back if I can, which I think this is really important, is you've been now out there, you've written this book and you're vocal. Like, what are other women saying to you, like that are talking to you? Like, what are you hearing? Are you feeling that this is um, a bit of a movement of, hey, if we're gonna get stuff done, we got to get it done right, and we got to get done for the right reasons? Like, tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Yes, but it's also women are saying, wow, you've done so many of these surgeries and procedures and you're being so vocal about it. I shouldn't be ashamed to want to do something or to do something and even share it with people that they know, because a lot of women are scared. They're scared of
Mhm.
what their community thinks of them or their relatives, family members think of them if they want to do something. And I feel like writing this book and just kind of broadcasting it was helpful for women to not be embarrassed or
Mm.
ashamed and to really, do whatever they want to do to make themselves feel better. That's pretty much the comments that I've gotten. There's some backlash when I was in People magazine for all of the procedures. There was a lot of like negative comments, like, "Oh, she's a bad influence on her daughter," things like that. But you're always going to get those type of comments. But most of them are pretty positive.
Yeah. Was writing the book kind of therapeutic for you?
It was, and I also thought this is good information, to share. So that was the main reason why I wanted to write it, just so, because people would ask me all the time. I'm not a beauty broker, like, there are people that have
Yeah.
these types of businesses, but friends of friends would ask because, word gets out like, oh, she's had this, she's had that, like, over time. And when I people would ask me so many questions, I thought, let me just put it all in a book, and that way it's like
Yeah.
easy. Use it as a guide, but funny. It's like written in such a funny, humorous way where it's not boring to read. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a sexy topic in many levels, right? It's interesting. People are changing their bodies, and it's just in so many levels. It's a very interesting topic. So, yeah. So,
Has the book has the book changed? This may sound weird, but by writing the book, has that kind of changed a little bit of your relationship with yourself?
yes. After I wrote it and then I narrated it, so it took me a month to narrate the book because I know I did what I was doing in the studio, so I would, have to redo. After reading it, I was like, wow, I've done so much. This is like, I literally thought I was insane after I read the whole thing out loud again, that I just couldn't even believe it's almost like an outer body experience because I'm like, is this really real? Like, did I really do all this?
Hmm. Yeah.
But like, I just kind of laughed it off. But yeah,
So did
after
it? But then I guess a little bit is I guess the real, like you're saying, it was a bit of a realization where you've done all these things, but then you actually did the book, and then you're narrating it, and you're like, oh my god, I have done all these things.
also, it made me realize that it took me back because, these procedures started when I was 27, and it took me back to, wow, like I did a lot, and I did it, a lot of them because I wasn't, happy with myself. And doing that whole internal, journey was so helpful that it just made me realize like, wow, I went through this whole journey and, it was the way it turned out the way it was supposed to. But now I've gotten to the other side where, yes, I've done all these things, but now I'm actually very happy with myself and not externally, but internally.
yeah, it's really complicated. I mean, obviously it affects men and women differently. I normally give the counter. I do a lot of men, so my counter is always like the guys, particularly these young guys, are just as freaking stressed out as the young women. Would be my answer. So Not that that's a good thing, by the way. It's good for plastic surgeons, but it's not bad. It's not good for the world. So it's one of those in the kind of the little book I was writing. You know, the round faces want to be sculpted. The sculpted faces make me put fat in it. The big butts want to be small. The small butts want to be big. I tell every patient, I'm like, if it makes you feel any better, nobody's happy. So you'd be surprised. Like it's just the reality. So just take that with you, and keep it in mind when you're kind of making decisions. So.
Nobody's happy. And these poor girls, I'm sure, coming into your office and wanting you to remove the buccal fat, which is such a mistake for your listeners to not remove it, because as you age, like, you need that. You
Yeah,
need that.
I do a lot of buccal fat removal, so
You do?
I could expand on it. I think there's, like anything, I would argue, a young 30-year-old Asian woman with thick skin, short mandible, big ramus. Her mother has big bulldog cheeks. Is different than
That's different. I met somebody that's like,
exactly an Eastern European long
yeah,
face. So all of this stuff can be done properly. It's
right.
just like the lipo you had on your knees and belly. It probably could have been done a little more subtle, and you would have got a
Oh,
nice
sure.
change out of it when you were 28. But they overdid it. So, and it really comes down to that, and in the transparency of it. So, but you're right. I mean, everything has consequences, and people need to know. And the problem now, in my opinion, it's probably because the patients are so informed with AI and with social, Google and with social media or whatever, that the surgeons are kind of letting the patient dictate it a little too much, taking the back seat, taking the money, and just doing what the patient thinks they want without really. Even if they know, like, oh shit, she's 18, she probably doesn't need her buccal fat. It's like, she's gonna give me 10 grand for it. I guess I'll just do it. She asked for it. Like, but hey, you're 18, you're skinny, your mother is thin faced. Like, maybe you should reconsider this. It would be the proper thing
Right.
to say, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's like that's
100%.
that's the issue to it.
Sandra, tell us a little bit about that from your perspective. You're talking to a lot of people. Are you finding, is it more of people don't know what to do, and or more of don't know how far to actually go with it?
A lot of women don't know where to start, especially women my age group, where they've never done anything. And now all of a sudden they look in the mirror and they're like, who are you? I don't recognize, they don't recognize themselves anymore. And they're scared, like they don't know where to start. So I talk about that in the book as well, to start with non-invasive, like microblade your eyebrows, do eyelash extensions, dermaplane your face, like little things to
Safe,
start
easy,
with.
gonna make you feel a little better. It's a no-brainer. And you've probably seen it, Dom. I know I'm talking a lot now, but this is my thing. The surgeons out there that are saying you can't do the non-surgical stuff, it's gonna make the face. That's so bullshit. It's so fear-mongering. I tell every patient, they're like, "Hey, well, I do Botox and it gets my brows where I want them, but I might do a brow lift." I'm like, "Well, I would just keep doing the Botox. When the Botox isn't sufficient enough, we can talk about a brow lift. But if you're happy with the Botox, just be happy with it. Don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it." It's like it's so clear in from the outsider perspective, but I saw this one thing. I don't want to. No, if you're happy, just let it be.
Sandra, keep going along with that. What you were saying about that, I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of them, they don't know where to start. So I tell people to start non-invasive first, and then kind of ease your way into it, instead of just going and getting something massive if you're scared. Because a lot of people are afraid of surgery, they're afraid of the anesthesia, and they just wanted to start doing something. I mean, a lot of things you can do for anti-aging, even changing like the way that you dress, changing your hairstyle. Like there's so many things that you can do before you start down the surgery path.
That's actually funny that you say that. My wife and I always talk about, if you look at a 45 or a 50-year-old today and you think about like your grandparents, you look back and you're like, oh my God, like they were 45 or 50, but it was like they were 80
Yeah, their
at that age.
hairstyles. The
Yeah.
hairstyles. Alice from the Brady Bunch. They did a picture, a side by side of her. Well, she was like 35 on the show with that crazy, like,
Yeah.
whatever, R&B looking haircut.
Yeah.
And then they put like long hair on her. She looked like a different person.
That was, Sandra, that was pure gold that you pulled Alice from the Brady Bunch on that. That was gold. Thank you for that tonight. Um, have you, Have you had many men come to you to talk about this at all?
Yes. A lot of men, especially not as much for the surgery part, but more like the anti-aging, like the peptides and just like the fitness training and the things I talk about in the second part of the book. The lymphatic work, the body. I do fascia work twice a week. It's more like Rolfing with a body. He's an expert in working on the fascia, like things like that I talk about. A lot of the men are interested in more so than the surgery part.
Got it. And is your guidance for the men different than your guidance for the women?
I mean, for the men, it's more like getting, if they want to go down like the anti-aging path, more like their fitness, sleeping properly, not drinking. I mean, it's pretty much similar, but a lot of them aren't really interested. I mean, yeah, maybe Botox and things like that, but not like actual surgery. Because most of the surgeries I talk about are more.
And I'll tell you, the guys hold it a little closer to the chest. I mean, most of the guys, it's like, hey, nobody better know I did this. I'm gonna grow a beard for a couple weeks. The guys are. It's still a little. It's taboo for everybody, but it's much more taboo, particularly the men over 40. The young guys do it. They're open to it. The older guys, like 40, 50, 60 guys, they're much more hesitant to let it be out there, I think.
Do you get a lot of men coming to you to look younger for their careers?
Careers, and a lot of mine, they don't use the word younger often. They just kind of want that masculine, they'll reference. So, guys can get away with a little wrinkle here and there. So it's not even so much younger. It's like the sharpness, the leanness. I think it's more of the masculinity that they're after. But yeah, 100%. Definitely, they're kind of the older person in their industry. They're trying to compete with the 20-year-old guy who's still jacked and
So they almost have to,
yeah, I
in a
mean,
way.
again, like it's how society works. I normally say because people give me shit, as being a plastic surgeon, and I say, man, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's not my fault that hot people, seem to do better. It's just I'm just helping people get hot. You got to correct it at the baseline level if you want to fix this.
It's
So
unfortunate, but that is true.
it's unfortunate and it's true. So it's the reality, and like not making people hot's not going to solve anything. It's just so it's just going to be less fair. So at least now you can pay for it if you want. It's like
Exactly.
it's one way to consider it.
And that's that. I mean, I think on that point, um, it's up to people. It's their choice. I think, Sandra, what you're saying is, hey, that's fine. Make sure you're making the right choices, and here's ways to help you make the right choices. Is that kind of fair of what your mission is?
It is. I feel like you should be able to do as many procedures as you want as long as you look natural. The moment that you go down a rabbit hole and you don't look natural anymore, then you've gone too far. And it's a fine line.
It's a fine line. True to that.
Let's talk about your podcast. The party's over. First of all, super cool name. By the way, she's good with the names.
Yeah, you gotta be. I think more you. It's like it's kind
That
of
came
boring.
from me. Everything, like all day long, I'll say, oh, well, party's over, party's over. So with everything, like, oh, I just got my Botox, party's over. Like, I just said it so much that when we were coming up with the name for the podcast, I'm like, it's got to be party's over because I say it like nonstop.
Tell us about the podcast. What's going on the podcast?
So the podcast started with each episode I would talk about segment A would be all about reverse aging and having guests. Segment B would be all about toxic relationships, which is my second book that'll be released in September. And then we would do a spill it where somebody would ask a question, then my friend Vita and I would talk about, answering the question, which is super funny. The last filming that we did, we kind of switched it up where we're doing shorter segments and just other topics. So we're not just doing like the reverse aging and the toxic relationships. So I'll see how that goes when we release those. But it's been fun and people like it.
Let's ask a question on that. I think it's so interesting because you're talking about toxic. I think a lot of people don't know they're in a toxic relationship.
Oh no, they don't.
How do you know if you're in a toxic relationship?
They have no idea. And my second book is called From Bullshit to Broken Hearts. It's all about my marriage, all about the toxic relationship that I was in, that for half of it, I didn't realize what was going on. There's so many signs and so many red flags that people miss, like I missed. I mean, I was love bomb day one with this guy, and just the moment he met me, he told me we'd have cute kids together. And I mean, he met me for 5 minutes. Like, how would he even know that? Um, he would gaslight me. There were so many things, like he was insulting me, and I didn't, it just went right over my head. Like, I didn't realize, I had no idea. So many factors. I didn't realize it for years. So I thought with this book, I'm going to talk about different scenarios, have experts just like the first book, so bring awareness to women, or men, or whoever reads the book, where they may not even realize they're in a relationship like that. They may have no idea, because I didn't realize.
And so is there anything, I mean, for someone to just have a warning sign to go like, because I have a young daughter. She's gorgeous. She's brilliant. She's very type A and very smart. And I don't think she would ever get herself in a toxic relationship, because she has a lot of self-awareness and self-confidence and those types of things. But I worry about those kind of things as a dad. And I just thinking about all the people out there and people listening, and like, how do they, how can they actually do a gut check on that?
You don't, that's the thing. Like, you could be the strongest person and it happens over time. So you don't realize what's going on. These people, they could be toxic in like very subtle ways.
Yeah, the people, the true, it's toxic because they're good at it. Like,
Yeah, they're
right?
good
They
at it.
take
They're so
advantage of the
manipulative.
system.
Like,
Yeah.
I was being manipulated every which way, and I didn't even realize how much I was being manipulative. Now I can look back at all these different scenarios, and I'm like, wow, like, and I'm not a stupid person, but I just fell into this. And when I had kids, and I don't want to break up the family, and you just start accepting, and the more you accept, the worse it will get. Like, the boundaries that were crossed are so crazy. When this book comes out, like, people aren't even going to believe the scenarios, like the different scenarios. And my ex gave me, honestly, the best content of my life. I wouldn't even be able to make this stuff up.
All right, I like it. I like a
It's
little
so
drama. I
like
mean, not that
it.
you had to go through it, but I like to read
Yeah, I'm
about
not
it.
even that creative. Like, I wouldn't even be able to make this up. I'm like, the things that this guy did were so insane, and he wouldn't stop. But then the more I was like, is this real? Like, is he really doing this? And I accepted it. It would, next time it was even worse. And it just
That's
went
how it
on.
works. Yeah.
I think you guys are both saying, I think what's really clear here is the toxicity part of it is that it's so quietly insidious, because it's just
Mhm.
part of the everyday components of the relationship, that
Yes.
it goes unnoticed almost. Um, and God, that's got to be really tough.
Some of it went unnoticed. So the major things, then he would say, oh, but I'm going to go to a sex therapist. I'm going to get help. Okay, great. You're going to go get help. Like, I want to save our family. Like,
Mhm.
the other reason I stayed also is because I didn't know what kind of people he was going to have around my kids. And my number one priority was to protect my kids. And I thought, if I have joint custody with this guy, who knows who he's going to have around them. And that scared me. So I definitely stayed way longer than I should have, but
Don't
it's kind
don't
of.
feel bad. I mean, a lot of people
Yeah,
do.
maybe.
My mom did. I watched it as a kid, so I fully could understand, and the fact of, I mean, obviously very admirable. And I think it's so admirable for so many women and some men out there, that the toxicity is coming from the other side.
Mhm.
The just the to be so honorable to try to hold things together for your children, I think is such a strong force, and honestly incredibly admirable too. So,
Thank you.
and by the way, I love, I'm sorry to side note this, but I love this series of bullshit to Botox
Yeah.
and bullshit to that's it. I mean, that's such a cool niche. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like digging
It's
that.
funny.
How are you? I want to take this just one step. Also, how are you enjoying, kind of developing your brand and developing who you are? Is that the part, like, are you enjoying it? Are you finding it a lot of work? Just tell us a little bit about that.
I'm enjoying it. It definitely is a lot of work, but I love it. So for me, it doesn't feel like I'm busy all the time, but it doesn't feel like work because I really enjoy it. And I really like helping women and helping empower them any which way that I possibly can, whether it's, on the procedure side or on the relationship side. I just am hoping whoever reads my books will get something out of it, out of one of them. You know what I mean? That makes me happy.
So so that part is really fun in building the
Yeah.
brand and doing that. We always ask this one question. It's our favorite question. And by the way, for you, this is really interesting because it could be either procedures or toxic relationships. But what are the thing? Is there something out there that you think is like common? Is more of a common knowledge that people think that is absolute bullshit based on your experience?
For procedures, yes. I think that there are a few laser machines, well, like the Morpheus 8, the cool sculpting. I feel like people love these, and I don't think they work. I think that I'm against them. I don't know how you feel about both of them, but
I think it's really, first of all, that's your opinion and you get to have that. That you're our guest and you're on our show. I think it's interesting because I think it goes back to the things that you both were talking about, which it depends whose hands they're in. I think a lot of people don't realize on cool sculpting, if the way you massage after cool sculpting will really affect how the procedure takes. Like, and sorry for lack of, like, I don't have the right vernacular in my head this morning at 9 o'clock Eastern time,
okay.
but it's depending. And I think what a lot of people don't, I love that you brought up Morpheus 8 because I think what a lot of people don't realize on all the devices, these devices have settings. And because
Mhm.
they have settings, if those settings aren't set, and Ben, you can help me on this at any time, but you could take the settings and turn them down and
Yeah.
not get the result you're looking
So
for.
again, we have 150 different devices. Cool Sculpting, Morpheus, CO2, Softwave.
Yeah.
They're all the science is, if you really nerd out about it, it's just using different wavelengths to target energy. So they can all be done really well. They're FDA approved. These are proven that they can be efficacious. They can all be done really poorly. With a
Mhm.
CO2 laser, Dom, I could drill a hole from the between your eyes to the back of your head if
Yeah.
I left it on for long enough. So some people will say CO2 sucks. Probably the people that got burned by it. Some
Right.
people will say CO2 is the most beautiful thing in the world because they're really white, they have no melanin, and they got a good outcome. So it really, again, like buccal fat can be really good. Buccal fat can
Yeah.
overdo it. Breast implants can be enormous and under the muscle and converge in the midline, or they can look spectacular. So it's that. I think a big part when you say they don't work, I think part of these non-surgical things, a lot of people overpromise them. So I
Right.
think that's the misleading. I normally say, listen, you can do the Morpheus, you're going to spend a couple $1,000s, it's going to be a little bit better, or you can do a neck lift and it's going to be way better, but there's a lot more downtime.
But
So
that's
there's
what I,
pros, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, there's
that's
pros.
what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like instead of going down that trap,
yeah,
because you are going to spend thousands of dollars, it's better
sure.
to cut the skin.
Yeah, but for some people, you know what? They're a high energy lawyer. They don't take any days off a year. And I'm like, hey, if I do the neck lift, you're going to look stupid for like 2 weeks. And they're
Right.
like, no, dude, I can't do that. And I'm like, all right, let's do Morpheus. You'll be a little bit better. You're not going to say I'm the best person ever, but it'll be a little bit better. And it really, I mean, I keep harping on it, but it really comes down to the communication, being honest. And, the problem is the people who aren't that busy are the ones pushing it. Like I'm lucky, I'm busy enough. I can say, don't do it, I'll go operate on somebody else, so I want to be busy. I'm a hyper guy. So, early in the careers or people that are not completely honest. So, but like Dom said, I think that insight is good. Patients, you should be people. They should hear that. They should also hear the person that loves that, and they should have that information. So,
Yeah, I always want to say is I love that you said that actually, Sandra, because I think it's so important because that was your experience and that could be your experience. And I think that's why, going back to what you said, you got to go to the people that really focus on that and really do it all the time and have the hours on that, because again, it's different for that. So, I love that you mentioned that. What do you think is magic? Like what have you done, either procedure wise or anything for a toxic relationship, that's complete magic.
Honestly, I think every woman should do a facelift in their 40s.
Wow. That's big. That's
And the
big.
reason why is because I feel that that's when they're going to look the most natural. And then you can maintain over the years where you're not doing so much work at 60 or 70 and you're going to look the most natural. And you can just, repeat every 10, 15 years or however
Yeah,
long.
and it's you heal. I mean, most
Yeah.
surgeons would second you, not only because we're greedy and we want the money, but because those people heal easy, they're healthy, they're active.
Yeah.
It's the reality. I did a facelift, and actually, the woman did really well because she's like a freaking rock. But she was 88 years old. I did a facelift on her, and I mean,
Wow.
but you can imagine going through 4-hour elective surgery when you're
Wow.
88. Like that's hard. She's happy. She did good. She's tough, but
That's
yeah,
amazing.
when you're 40, it was her third one. So,
Yeah.
but she did great. So I think
Which
that's
is fine. That's her third one. But I'm saying to start in
no,
your
no, yeah.
40s to me makes the most sense.
I think for the right person with the right anatomy, it can be a beautiful procedure, and their satisfaction is so high because they're already hot. It's easy to take hot people, make them a little hotter. That's really the reality to it. Not that my 88-year-old wasn't hot; she's also hot. But it's a little more work. It's harder to make an 88-year-old look better and
Yeah.
natural than a
But in their
40-year-old.
40s, you're
Yeah,
going to be able to make them look the most natural.
the
And
smallest amount of change can look
yeah,
spectacular. Yeah, it's a good point.
Um, I gotta say, Sandra, this has been awesome. Super, super, super awesome. Um, so cool. One thing I want to say is you got to check out Sandra's podcast, The Party's Over. We think that's really important to check that out. You got to read her book, Bullshit to Botox. You got to read her next book, which is Sandra's Bullshit to Toxic Relationships. Is that what it was?
from bullshit to broken hearts.
Oh my God, that's by the way, that's a way better title, From Bullshit to Broken Hearts. So,
Yeah.
please go check out all of Sandra's stuff. I just want to thank you so much for coming on, and obviously I think your brand is transparency, but I think we would just always appreciate it when someone
Thank
comes
you.
on here and tells us things. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you
And
for inviting me.
I think it's admirable. It's not easy what you're doing because, like you said, it's very vulnerable to explain to people what you've done and why you did it and the mistakes you've made. So, yeah, it's admirable. So keep it up.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to have you on after the new book comes out, because I want
Thank
to
you. I would
I want
love
to jump
that.
into that. That would be so much
Okay,
fun.
perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra.